तस्या ज्ञानाञ्जन शलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा गदामह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। हे कृष्णा कर्ण सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधाकान्त नमस्तुते। तप्त काञ्चन गौरङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधार शिवसादि गौर भक्तवृंदा। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Very nice chapter today. Uh, Bhakti Yoga. The chapter name only is Bhakti Yoga. This chapter reveals so many qualities of Krishna, and he tells so many qualities of the devotees that endear him. So both we learn a lot about Krishna, and then Krishna tells us a lot about a devotee. Okay, so my slide is not moving. Let's pay our obeisances to Shri Shri Radha Govinda. Sorry, there's some, okay. Shri Shri Radha Govinda for their mercy, so that we can understand a little bit about devotional service from this chapter. This is what we did yesterday, Vishwarupa Sandarshan Yoga, or the universal form. Arjuna requests Krishna to show his universal form. Krishna describes and gives him the vision to see the universal form. Then Krishna's observation or vision of the universal form. Then Arjuna's vision of the universal form. Arjuna's experience of the universal form. And then he asks Krishna at the end, "Who are you?" Krishna replies, and then Arjuna prays and requests Krishna to wind up this universal form and bring into his vision the four-handed form and then his original two-handed form. And Krishna says that all the forms that I just showed you, they're actually a pure bhakti is needed to see this. Not austerity, not charity, not studying the Vedic literature or meditation are the eligibility criteria to see those forms. This is today's chapter summary, chapter 12, Bhakti over Impersonalism. Arjuna asks again, which is better, those who are attached to your personal form as Krishna or those who are attached to the Brahman effulgence? Then progressive stages of devotion and then the qualities that endear one to Krishna. Okay, I'll chant this one and then Vibha, you can stay unmuted and take over the rest. Okay. Arjuna Uvacha evam satata yukta ve bhaktasvam parupasyate ye chapi aksharam avyaktam tesham ke yoga vittamaha. Arjuna inquired, which is considered to be more perfect? Those who are properly engaged in your devotional service or those who worship the impersonal Brahman, the unmanifested? Which one is better? So, properly engaged in your devotional service is the personalist. There are two classes of transcendentalists. One is personalist and the other is impersonalist. Personalists are the Vaishnavas who are attached to the form of Krishna, the Archa Vigraha, and who conclude that the highest stage in God realization is the Bhagwan feature, where Krishna has a form, and we can have a relationship with him. But there are some people who have very hard time in accepting Krishna as form, as having form or supreme person. They're very, very, um, they're very, very, they have very, very hard time. They just have it. So they are very attached to the idea that God is a power, or God is energy, or God is formless. So Arjuna is asking which one is better, the impersonalist or the personalist. Now the question is, why is Arjuna asking now? This is we are finishing today the other third of Bhagavad Gita. So today, from tomorrow, again the philosophy will start. So he's asking people who are attached to the formless feature of God or form feature of Krishna, who is better? You can type to me in the chat. But why do you think Arjuna is asking now? At the end of the Bhakti Yoga, towards the end? Why is he asking it now? He said yesterday, right, that my illusion is now dispelled. Means his all questions are answered. I don't. Yes, my admins, any one of them, so that others also, know, because he has seen both the forms now, to make us understand. Okay, anyone from my admins?
Hare Krishna Mataji, is it because of the fact that Krishna is telling, there could be people who are understanding Krishna in the form of power or as person. So he's just trying to understand the difference between and seeing which is better.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Yes, thank you, Mataji. So if you read Prabhupada's purport to this particular verse, the first verse, Prabhupada explains there that Arjuna is actually attached to the personal form of Krishna. Now he has seen the impersonal, like he has seen this Vashvarupa darshan. So he is personally attached to personal form of Krishna. So he just wants to get a validation from Krishna that his attachment to personal form of Krishna is the best. So through him we are also understanding. But Prabhupada explains in the purport to this particular verse that Arjuna wants validation from Krishna, that I am attached to personal form. I cannot meditate on energy or power or formlessness. I just want to see Krishna as he is. That Krishna with bluish tinge of the color on his body, Krishna with these lotus eyes, lotus feet, lotus like hands, like lotus like smile. So I am more Krishna holding the flute, Krishna speaking. So people who like, we cannot like have energy talk to us. There has to be a person speaking, right? So he asked this question. Sorry. Okay, Vibha. 12.2 Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. Then Krishna is going to answer. Just remember the question in the beginning. And Krishna is going to answer. And it's going to wind up by, I think, fourth verse.
श्रीभगवानुवाच मयि अवश्ये मयि अवेश्य ये मां नित्ययुक्ता उपासते श्रद्धया परयोपेतस्ते मे युक्ता तमामतः.
Thank you. The blessed Lord said, He whose mind is fixed on my personal form, always engaged in worshipping me with great and transcendental faith, is considered by me to be most perfect. So Krishna himself is saying that whose mind is fixed on my personal form, personal. Okay, not energy, not power, not formlessness. This is Krishna's statement. I can't do anything about it. Krishna says, he whose mind is fixed on my personal form, always engaged in worshipping me with great and transcendental faith, is considered by me to be most perfect. So Prabhupada explains Archa Vigraha here. So many people use the word idol worship. Okay, Archa Vigraha is not idol worship. Okay, now let me ask you a question. Let's say that you have a letter that you want to mail. Okay, and then you go to the mailbox, which is validated by the government, and you put your mail in that letter inside that mailbox. Are you sure that the mail, that your letter will reach its destination through that one box near your house? Are you sure about it? Yes or no? You can write to me. Okay. Some people are saying no. So yes, right, because it is validated by the government that it will reach to my destination. Uh, but let's say, why the box is near your house and you have to mail the letter to a far distant place? Why are you sure? What is your conviction based on? It is based on the fact that it is validated by the government, that the government will is operating, right? So in the same way, let's say the other thing, that there is a child and the child wants to mail a letter. So they make a dummy post box outside their house, and then they are playing, and then they mail a letter in that post box. Will that letter go anywhere, or will it stay there? It will not go anywhere, right? Because it is not validated. It's just a plaything. Correct. So Prabhupada was giving lecture on Rukmini Dwarkadish temple installation in California. In Los Angeles, Prabhupada, this is only one lecture. You all can have access to that lecture. There's only one lecture of installation of Shri Rukmini Dwarkadish in Los Angeles, and Prabhupada was explaining that Archa Vigraha worship is like that. It is like Archa Vigraha is like equivalent to the validated post office. If you compare, Archa Vigraha is established under the strict rules and regulations of a parampara by a bona fide acharya. A bona fide acharya invites the deities, invites Krishna to take the form of deity. So if we offer our obeisances and offer our worship to that deity, our prayers will reach Krishna through that. Because Krishna is the deity is Krishna himself. We have that duality of vision, but that particular vigraha is bona fide because it is established by a bona fide source. It is like compared to you posting a letter to a validated post box and it going to its destination. So it is not idol worship. People use the word idol. Idol, like, it kills me from inside whenever I hear that word, but they don't know, I guess. Okay, idol worship means that some concocted idea that they are thinking that deity is just a stone. But for a devotee, deity is not a stone. They don't have a vision. How can you expect that the person with cataract will have 20/20 vision? Can a person with cataract have 20/20 vision? No. The person who is not able to see the deity form of Krishna as Krishna himself, or is not able to relate to the deity in a personal level or have relationship with the deity, they have just cataract. They don't love Krishna yet. That doesn't mean that they are invalidated or they are not eligible, but they are not there yet. So we don't pay much attention to their sayings because Srila Prabhupada has said that Archa is Krishna himself. Actually, it is. The vidhi of deity worship is so that you develop a personal relationship with deities. Yes, I do deity worship when I go to the temple, after established deities in the temple. And when we bathe the deities, like it's been so many months now, but when we go and I have to bathe the deities, let's say Archa in the temple, I bathe them. So the whole procedure is such from the beginning to the end is like you're just engrossed in that service. So many prayers, so many mantras, they're so designed. Starts from you entering the pujari room and then doing the achaman to invoke the mercy of the acharyas, and then collecting the paraphernalia to bathe the deities. And then when you get the water, you put the different kinds of scents, different kinds of flower petals, you do so many kinds of achamans, you invite all the seven holy rivers from the whole universe to be present in that pot. You take it to the altar, you invite the deity, you invite first, everything has to be through your spiritual master and Prabhupada and the Acharya. So you bring the deity, welcome them, and everything. Okay, I'm going to bring you to the altar now. Okay, I'm going to offer you the massage now. Okay, I'm going to offer you the flower now. Okay, I'm going to offer. So there are so many. You're talking to the deity when you're doing the worship. I'm not so exalted, but I have seen. I'm fortunate, very fortunate, because I have seen pujaris who are completely engrossed. I am not like that, but completely engrossed, and they are so aesthetic. So it's not idol worship, it's deity worship, Archa Vigraha. Okay, and that particular person is considered to be most perfect. A non-devotee cannot understand that how a devotee can be decorating the deity so nicely. Now, Manisha Prabhu says this, that our vision is that when we go to the temple, we think that I am living and deity is dead. This is what we think. But the reality is that I am dead and deity is living. That is the reality. Okay, this body is dead. There is soul inside the body. That is why these eyes have this vision power. But once the soul leaves, the eyes will be there, but the vision power will be gone. But so Krishna in his deity form is always living. When we take darshan, if I ask this word, let's say you're going for darshan of the deities. So what does darshan mean? To a common person, to me also, it used to mean that I'm going to go take darshan of the deities, but actually it's the opposite. The deities are going to look at you. Okay, so we just don't know how to worship. That's why Krishna is saying personal form is better, personal. But those who fully worship the unmanifested, that which lies beyond the perception of the senses, that's Brahman effulgence. Lies beyond the perception of the senses is unmanifested, all pervading, inconceivable, fixed, and immovable. The impersonal conception of the absolute truth by controlling the various senses and being equally disposed to everyone. Such persons engaged in welfare of all at last achieve me. So at last, even an impersonalist, even a person who's very attached to Brahman effulgence of Krishna, that person will also ultimately achieve Krishna in his personal form. It may take some time, it may take lifetimes, but ultimately they're also on their march towards Krishna as a person. You have to understand this. Okay, kleshu adhikarastesham avyakta sakta chetasam avyakta hi gatir dukham. Oh ho, gatir dukham. Deva deha vadibhir avapyate. This is like kleshu adhikarastesham. Klesha means very, very painful. It's very, very painful. But those whose minds are attached to the unmanifested, impersonal feature of the Supreme, advancement is very troublesome. To make progress in that discipline is always difficult for those who are embodied. Prabhupada writes a very nice purport to this particular verse. He explains that it is not easy for an embodied living entity to think that I am a soul or to come to the realization. It's not easy. We have to be very, very honest, because whole day our activities are so arranged that my body or my mind is protected or my intelligence is protected. We are not working at the soul level. Why? Because we are not 100% convinced about it. So Krishna is saying that yes, and Krishna is giving his understanding. Yes, you can't just be attached to impersonal feature because you yourself are embodied. I have a form. How can I be attached to something which has no form? How can I have a relationship with a candle flame? Can you have a relationship with a candle flame? Or let's say that there is a big light. Can you have a relationship with that light? Can you?
No, Mataji.
No, right? So there's a need of a form. And that is the ultimate truth also. Okay, now Krishna is going to start telling us that how can we achieve Krishna? How can so far he answered the question of Arjuna that which one is better, personal form or impersonal form? Krishna said personal form worship is the perfect, most perfect by him. It's validated by him. And now he's going to say that how can we achieve to that platform of Gil. Yes, Hare Krishna.
ये तु सर्वाणि कर्माणि मयि येनैव योगेन मां ध्यायन्ता उपासते तेषाम् अहं समुद्धार्त मृत्युसंसारसागरात् भवामि नाचिरत् पार्थ मयि अवेसितचेतसम्.
Thank you. For for one who worships me, giving up all his activities onto me, and being devoted to me without deviation, engaged in devotional service and always meditating upon me, who has fixed his mind upon me. O son of Pritha, for him I sansar. Sansar means this planet where we are in, the universe where it's an ocean of death. Tesham aham samudhartha. Tesham aham samudhartha mrityu is that Krishna lifts that person up. Okay, our position or our adhikar is only this much. Only this much. Worship Krishna. Give up all activities unto him. Devote to him without deviation. Okay, and when we are working for Krishna all the time, then our mind will be automatically attached to Krishna's service. Automatic. It's automatic. Okay, but then who has done this? Who has done this? Krishna is acknowledging that I am the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death. Devotees are we are completely dependent on Krishna. Whether I am living in the conditional state of life or whether I'm in the spiritual world, both places I am dependent on Krishna to deliver me. I cannot do it on my own. It is not possible. It is not possible. My Guru Maharaj was in uh, Bangladesh or Sri Lanka, one of the two countries, uh, in 1980s with one another Prabhupada's disciple, Bhakti Swarup Damodar Goswami Prabhupada. Bhakti Swarup Damodar Goswami Maharaj. Bhakti Swarup Damodar Goswami Maharaj was a scientist. He was a scientist from Stanford University, California, chemist, chemical scientist. So he was very intelligent. So my Guru Maharaj was telling that they both were sitting, and it was an interfaith meet. So a lot of other cults, prominent people from those cults had come. So one time, impersonalist Mayavadi sannyasi was talking, and my Guru Maharaj said that he was getting mad at the talk because they were saying that we are all God, we are all equal to God, but right now we are in the body, but then when we leave the body, we become God. So Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj was pacifying him. But then they both had a discussion that we cannot even control the functions of our own body. If I have a toothache, I go for looking that where is a doctor, where is a doctor. Or if my stomach is hurting or my head is hurting, then I have to take pills. God is not like that. We cannot even control the functions of our own body. Forget about being God. This is God, one who delivers swiftly, swift delivery from the ocean of birth and death. Don't take the position of Krishna to be so cheap or so easy or so much that anyone can claim. No, because can that person deliver you from the ocean of birth and death? No, then stop following them. Just stop it. Okay, now these are the other ways. Mai eva mana adhatasva. Mai buddhim niveshaya. Nivashishyasi mai eva. Atha urdhvam na sanchayaha. Just fix your mind upon me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and engage all your intelligence in me. Thus you will live in me always without a doubt. So Krishna is saying how to live with Krishna all the time, even in this particular body where we are in. This is called Ananya Bhakti. Ananya Bhakti is pure devotional service out of love for Krishna. It's a very difficult stage, and rare stage. Pure devotional service in love for Krishna. That is Ananya Bhakti. And what is the symptom of that? That person's, that devotee's mind is fixed on Krishna, and all intelligence and all activities are engaged in Krishna's service. So when they are thinking about Krishna, working for Krishna, they are living with Krishna. But this is not easy. Ananya Bhakti is very rare. It cannot be faked, and it is on the platform of pure love for Krishna. Because Rupa Goswami Prabhupada gives two examples of Ananya Bhakti. For a mother, let's say that she's done a laundry, she's just washed the clothes, and then she has a small baby. Okay, so Rupa Goswami Prabhupada explains that the baby is, let's say, somewhere else, but the mother looks at a small cloth of the baby. Let's say she looks at a small sock that the baby wears. The minute she looks at the sock or the cloth of the baby, she just thinks of the baby. All her emotions are going on in her heart. Why? Why? Because she loves the child. It's not even an effort for her to think about the child, right? Like that, when a devotee looks at the activity and engages in activity for Krishna or service for Krishna, it is very easy for them to think of Krishna. Very, very easy. Okay, this is very rare. This is devotees in Braj. They are in Ananya Bhakti or Goloka Vrindavan or Gokul. But now Krishna is adjusting. We think that we adjust, and God does not adjust. This is God. How much He adjusts. Yes, Vibha. If someone can't do that, then what to do?
अथ चित्तं समधातुं नाशक्नोषि मयि स्थिरम् अभ्यासयोगेन ततो माम् इच्छाप्तुं धनञ्जय.
Thank you. My dear Arjuna, O winner of wealth, if you cannot fix your mind upon me without deviation, then follow the regulated principles of Bhakti Yoga. In this way, you will develop a desire to attain me. This is secret. Follow the regulative principles. So this is called sadhana bhakti. Sadhana bhakti is a devotional service with regulative principles. Like regulative principles, like get up early in the morning, offer Mangalarti, chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, minimum 16 rounds on the beads every day, offer food to Krishna, sing for Krishna, worship Krishna. All these are regulations given by the acharyas. Some people ask, right, that why 16 rounds? Why not unlimited round? What's the need to count? This is the need to count because this is, you set a discipline, a regulation. And what is the result? What is the result of following the regulation? Attain a desire to attain me. Develop a desire to attain me. Okay, we cannot start with Ananya Bhakti. For example, I'll give you an example. Let's say you're learning how to drive. Okay. Now, this is your first lesson to learn how to drive a car. Are you going to just ask your teacher to leave the car and you're going to take the car and hit on full swing on the highway on the first day? Are you going to do that? Because you, at the end is just driving. Whether you drive here in the car on the local roads or whether you drive on the highway is driving. What's the problem? Are you going to do that? No. People are writing to me, no, right? So similarly, we cannot fake Ananya Bhakti. We cannot fake pure devotion. Pure devotional service is a gift from Krishna. Krishna gifts it to somebody who is very, very sincere. So we cannot start, oh, I am a devotee of Krishna. Oh, I have no need to follow the rules and regulations. Oh, whatever you can chant is good for you. Just go on chanting. Yes, that is true. You can go on chanting, but we have to fix up the rounds. We have to chant on the beads because it is a regulation given. Similarly, going to the car example, on the other hand, a person who is very patient, who is very dedicated to the bona fide teacher, who can teach the student now, adjust the mirrors, now get acquainted with the car, now follow the rules. These are the rules and these are the troubleshooting things. That person has a higher chance. Okay, now start slow. Okay, now get comfortable. Is this seat height, length, or position good for you? You got to move something, right? So many adjustments are needed to be done. And then driving, then the person becomes expert in driving. Similarly, when we follow the sadhana bhakti, when we fix up the rounds, then we have a chance to attain to this platform of Ananya Bhakti. Otherwise, no. You see, Krishna is not available. Krishna is not available just like that. Krishna has to be given by a pure devotee. He's not dependent on somebody's mental concoction. This is mental concoction. When people say that I'm not going to chant on my beads, I'm just going to chant like this, that's fine, but then that's not sadhana bhakti. That's yours. I don't know what a sadhana bhakti. I don't even know what will we call it. Some level of devotional service, but not under the category of pure devotion service, not under the category of sadhana bhakti. Just be very clear. The rules are very clear. You're in a school now. Okay, Vibha. But if somebody can't do that also. So first is that Ananya Bhakti. Krishna says if someone can't do that, then follow the develops a desire to attain me. But if somebody can't follow the regulative principles also, then what?
अभ्यासेऽपि समर्थोऽसि मत्कर्म परमो भव मदर्थम् अपि कर्माणि कुर्वन् सिद्धि
Thank you. If you cannot practice the regulations of Bhakti Yoga, then just try to work. Just try to work for me, Krishna is saying. Because by working for me, you will come to the perfect stage. So that's working for Krishna is Nishkam Karma Yoga. You know, it's very hard for someone to sit down and chant or not sit down or just chant on the beads 16 rounds. Then, okay, do something for Krishna. Like we are trying to do a menial service, right, to Srila Prabhupada, that with the hope that Prabhupada will be pleased. So like that, you can all do something. Like offer food to Krishna in your house. That is also a part of the work for Krishna. Or when you go out, talk about Krishna. Or the best example is that, okay, if you have benefited from attending Understand Gita in 18 days, then share it with someone. Now, you're not attached to the fact whether they will come or not, but you have done your duty. That here you go. Why don't you try it out? Okay, so that's Nishkam Karma Yoga. But and then Nishkam Karma Yoga has this elements. Yat Karoshi, Yat Ashnashi, Yat Juhoshi, Dadasi Yat. Yat Tapasyasi Kanteya, Tat Kurushva Madarpanam. O son of Kunti, all that you do, all that you eat, and all that you offer and give away, as well as all austerities that you may perform, should be done as an offering to me, unto me. Right? This he said in the earlier chapters. So that's Nishkam Karma Yoga. But if somebody can't do that also, first is develop the pure devotional service. But if someone is not at that platform, then do the sadhana bhakti, regulative devotional service. If someone can't do that, cannot do that, then Krishna says, okay, then work for me. That's Nishkam Karma Yoga. Okay, if somebody can't do that also, then what? Yes, Vibha.
अतैतदपि असक्तोऽसि कर्तुं मद्योगमाश्रितः सर्वकर्मफलत्यागं तथा कुरु यतत्.
Thank you. If, however, you're unable to work in this consciousness, then try to act giving up all results of your work and try to be self situated. So, Krishna is adjusting that if somebody can't do that, then what? Give up the result. Work as per your own proclivities, as per your own inclination or interest, but at least give me the result of that activity. Okay, so Sakam Karma, that okay, I am very attached to the fact that I am this, I am that, I am this. But Krishna says that's okay, I'll accept you, but give something. You say give something to Krishna. Give your time or your assets or your intelligence. Something has to be given. Activity cannot be stopped. It's a relationship. He gives, you give. Yes, Vibha, but if somebody can't do that also, then what?
श्रेयो हि ज्ञानमभ्यासज्ञानध्यानं विशिष्यते ध्यानात् कर्मफलत्यागस्त्यागच्छन्तिरनन्तरम्.
Thank you. If you cannot take to this practice, then engage yourself in the cultivation of knowledge. Okay, then that's jnana. Okay, but better than knowledge, however, is meditation. And better than meditation is renunciation of the fruits of action. For by such renunciation, one can attain peace of mind. So he says, okay, you can't do sakam karma. Sakam karma, other example is the philanthropist. There's so many rich people in the world who wants to do some philanthropic work, right? Humanitarian work. They're not necessarily doing it for Krishna. They are not. But Krishna is saying, okay, at least give up the result of your activity. That's fine. So somewhere in some life, they will come to the platform of Krishna's service. But beginning has to be done by giving up. But if someone can't do that, then cultivate the knowledge. But better than knowledge is meditation. Okay, but better than meditation is, sorry, better than meditation is renunciation of one's fruits of action. Renunciation of one's fruit of action gives peace of mind. Why is the mind restless? Because we are not renouncing. We are trying to collect stuff in this world and increase our bondage. The mind wants to be liberated. There's one clinical psychologist. She was saying that two things which are universally true all over the world in every human being or living entity. I would say living entity, but she said human being. Is that everyone is looking for two things. What are they? Freedom and change. Everybody wants freedom to act or freedom to thought, and the other thing is they want change. So, and it's mind level. It's mind level. Now he's going to tell about the devotees, qualities of devotees that endear him. These are the qualities. We start here. One who is not envious, but is a kind friend to all living entities, who does not think himself a proprietor and is free from false ego, who is equal in both happiness and distress, who is tolerant, always satisfied, self controlled, and engaged in devotional service. With determination, his mind and intelligence fixed on me. Such a devotee of mine is very dear to me. So, this is what it takes to be a devotee of Krishna. This is the eligibility criteria behind a person who's a devotee, like Prabhupada, non envious. Non-envious and kind friend of all living entities. You see, when somebody eats meat, it is an expression of envy. It is really an expression of envy. Why? Because they don't like that other person is other living entity is existing. You need to die so I can eat you. So it's envy. Prabhupada says the material world, everything is imperfect. It is. Let's say citizen. Who is a citizen of a particular country? By law, who is a citizen? One who is taken birth on that land for most of the part, right? So our law is so imperfect that we are claiming the rights of citizens of the citizenship for a human being. But the poor animals who are born on that particular land, by law, they should also be considered as a citizen, but they are sent to the slaughterhouse. The government is so partial, right? It should be universal. Okay, you have taken birth, you're a citizen, I'm citizen, we are all fellow. That's a very mundane vision, but at least start from somewhere. You have to start from somewhere. That okay, but it's very very partial. So we are living in a very partial world, and killing of other animals is an expression of envy of one's heart, and that envy begins from envy for Krishna. And how can Krishna be God? Why not me? How can Krishna have so many powers? Why not me? It's a very detailed subject matter which only sitting with the devotees reading the shastras again and again, discussion and then service to Krishna can give a little bit of realization that it is very very I am so envious. It takes strength to come face to face with one's own shortcomings, and that is the effect of chanting Hare Krishna. When we chant Hare Krishna, the first thing that happens is that we come face to face with our own shortcomings. Oh my God, I have this dirt, I have that dirt. For so long, I was thinking I'm so amazing, but my God, I have so many misgivings in my heart. So Cheto Darpanam Arjunam is the first thing, right? Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam. The mirror of the heart becomes clean. And the part of cleaning the mirror of the heart is that we are going to be cleaning the mirror with the dust on it. So when we clean the mirror with the dust on it, we may cough here and there. We may have problem in vision because our eyes may water. So chanting Hare Krishna does that to us. One becomes aware that what was I doing? What is it? So if I want to become dear to Krishna, the first quality is non-envious of all living entities, all. And it takes a lot of strength to do this. One who does not think himself as a proprietor is free from false ego, is equal in both happiness and distress. I find this fascinating, equal in both happiness and distress. It is generally, if you go for advice from someone that, let's say I'm suffering and I ask my friend, what should I do? My friend will tell me, tolerate and give it time. That's the most common advice given. Okay, but we don't ask this advice in happiness. Tolerate happiness and give it time. We say it for distress. Tolerate the distress will go away. But we don't say it in the state of happiness. That tolerate the happiness will also go away. We say, oh, may the happiness stay forever and may the distress go away. But Krishna is saying equal in both happiness, distress. Don't get shaken away with both. Actually, these things are very fascinating. Don't be so taken over because the happiness will also go away and distress will also go away. Then what is my take? We develop equanimity, tolerance to both the situations. This is Sanatan Goswami. Sanatan Goswami was such an exalted devotee of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We are so indebted to the six Goswamis. Sanatan Goswami was a minister in the kingdoms in the king's palace, and he was very rich. But they gave up. Tyakta Turnama Shesha Mandalapati. They gave up everything. Why? Because they understood that what is the most important thing. There is a story about Sanatan Goswami. That there was one person who was very poor, who was a devotee, was very poor, and his wife told him that she has heard of this Goswami in Vrindavan. So who looks like he has a touchstone. So go and ask for him about this touchstone. Ask him to give it to you, so our our financial condition can improvise and we can start living life with some standard of living. So he does not go, but then the wife forces, so he goes. And Sanatan Goswami was sitting in his bhajan kuti, the hut here. So he goes and pays obeisances, and then he asks that my wife has asked me to ask you that you have a touchstone. We are very poor. We don't even know if we will have food to eat the day we get up in the morning. Can you please give me the touchstone? So Sanatan Goswami said, okay, behind my bhajan kuti, there is a a collection of garbage. So just go through the garbage and then you will find a stone there and then you take that. That's a touchstone. So he pays obeisance, thanks, and then takes it and goes away. And then the touchstone was such that you whatever it touches, it becomes gold. So they start touching everything and it became gold. So he became very rich. One day again, his wife was talking to him and she said, "Wait a minute, didn't you say that this particular Goswami told you to go in the pile of refuse and find a touchstone over there? So if he's throwing this touchstone in a garbage, it means he has something else, something more precious. So do one thing, go there and ask for that precious thing. Maybe we'll have something that can convert something to the diamonds, or maybe, more precious jewels. Why just gold? Go." He says, "But you're satisfied. No, why do you want me to go again?" He said, "But go, because we may get more rich." Right? Never is never enough. Oh, enough is never enough. Sorry. Enough is never enough. Okay, so he goes and then he asks Sanatana Goswami that, "Sanatana Goswami, you told me that you have something more precious and you asked me to pick up this. No, you told me to pick up this touchstone from the garbage pile. It means that you have something more precious. Can you give me that?" So Sanatana Goswami asked him, do you really want it?" Yes, yes, I want it. Yes, that's why I've come back." "Okay, then do one thing, throw this touchstone back in the garbage. Come back here." Okay, he does that and then says, "Okay, the more precious thing," and this is the pure devotee, we cannot copy. Now, remember I told two words, Anukaran and Anusharan. So this is Anusharan. We should take Sharan, our shelter, not copying them. So he sat down in front of Sanatana Goswami, and then Sanatana Goswami said, "Here you go." So what does he give? His bead bag, and says, "Now chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra." Because Hare Krishna Mahamantra is even higher than the touchstone. Hare Krishna Mahamantra is a touchstone. Hare Krishna Mahamantra is potent, very potent, because it's coming from Goloka Vrindavan. Hare Krishna Mahamantra has a potential to fulfill one's all desires. But who's chanting, right? He for whom no one is put into difficulty. No one is put into difficulty. Who is not disturbed by anxiety, who is steady in happiness and distress, is very dear to me. And the best example is Lord Shiva, right? Lord, this is from 8th canto, where 6th canto, where Lord Shiva was instructing his wife Sati, and Mother Sati was sitting in the lap of Lord Shiva. And Lord Shiva is transcendental. We cannot copy his position at all. He is completely transcendental. So he was talking about the glories of Krishna, and because he was speaking from a pure platform, all exalted devotees from all over the universe came. Narad Muni came, Vyasdev came, so many big exalted rishis. They all came because they wanted to hear Lord Shiva speak. Um, and then no one noticed that Mother Sati is sitting in the lap of her husband. No one, because they're not in the bodily platform. We cannot think how their vision is. And on the sky, there was this devotee called Chitraketu. Chitraketu was going. So Chitraketu was also exalted devotee. So when he looked at Lord Shiva, he smiled. Lord Shiva knew why he's smiling, that he's like, relishing the vision that all the devotees are sitting, Lord Shiva is speaking. But Mother Sati took an offense and caused him to become Vritasura. But he was not disturbed. Chitraketu was not disturbed. And Lord Shiva has shown so exalted examples of not being disturbed so many times in Srimad Bhagavatam. Not disturbed by anxiety. No one is put into difficulty. Who is steady in happiness and distress. So 2 times Krishna is saying in this chapter, steady in happiness also, distress also. Okay, a devotee who is not dependent on the ordinary course of activities, who is pure, expert, without cares, freedom from all pains, who does not strive for some result, is very dear to me. This is what it takes to become dear to Krishna, who is not dependent on the ordinary course of activities. This is the example like a devotee who is determined, Dridavrita, determined to chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra. They are not dependent on the ordinary course of activities. Oh, today my schedule is very tight. I will not have time to chant. Oh, my head is hurting today. Not possible. Oh, I don't have a mood today. I'm not going to chant Hare Krishna. I have to wait for a proper mood, proper position. No, because they know chanting Hare Krishna is not dependent on the ordinary course of activities. I have to chant, period. Everything else has to be dependent on my chanting. That kind of a determination makes Krishna, attracts Krishna's attention. He goes on, one who neither grasps pleasure or grief, one who neither laments nor desires, who renounces both auspicious and inauspicious things, is very dear to me. This verse has to be understood properly. So neither laments nor desires for their own self. Okay, a devotee has all the desires and for Krishna's service, but for their own self, for their own sense gratification. Let's say, oh, I want to wear that dress. So now I have a desire that I want to wear that dress, and I'm contemplating that what jewelry will I wear with that, how will I look, where will I wear. So many things are going on, and the lamentation will be that I get it and the dress gets burned apart. That's lamentation. So for my own sake. But a devotee of Krishna has desires, so many desires for Krishna's sake, but not for their own sake. Another, and the same, pleasure or grief. This is a duality of the mind. Pleasure or grief is coming from the mind, not from the soul. And we are on the mind level. So when our mind gets affected, we feel happy. When our mind gets affected with the grief, we feel sad. So it's a mind business. There is a Disney movie my children watched. It's called Inside Out. You don't have to watch the movie, but in that movie, there's this little girl whose mind is programmed by different emotions. So whenever the emotion sad button is turned on, then she becomes sad. Whenever happiness is turned on, and she becomes happy. So it's just to teach children how to be aware of their emotions, right? But these things are coming from the mind level because the soul is completely independent. There's a story of Shiva's Thakur. Shiva's Thakur in Chaitanya Leela, every night Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to perform pastimes in Shiva's Thakur's house. So Shiva's Angan. Angan means veranda. So in Shiva's Angan, he used to perform the pastimes of chanting Hare Krishna all night long. So one such day, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with his close associates, and they used to lock the door from inside so that no one can disturb, was dancing and performing his Ashtakaliya Leela, his intricate pastimes. And in the next door, Shiva's Thakur's 7-year-old son died. He was sick. He died. Shiva's Thakur came out and his wife wanted to cry. She wanted to cry because the son died. I don't know how this devotee stopped. I don't know. I'm just going to relay the pastime, but I don't understand myself how this happens. That Shiva's Thakur comes out and tells his wife, listen, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is performing his pastimes in the other room. And wherever there is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there is no inauspiciousness. Nothing inauspicious has happened. Whoever has taken birth is going to die anyway. I don't want you to cry so loud and disturb Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's dancing and chanting. If you do so, then instead of one dead body, you will see two, mine too. So he's not even allowing his wife. Vaishnava Kriya Mudra is very, very hard to understand. Okay, they are pure devotees. They are setting example for us. So the son's dead body is lying there, and they are performing the dancing in the other room. And then Shiva's Thakur comes back, and Mahaprabhu knows what's happening because he's Krishna. But he asks Shiva's Thakur, today I'm not getting good taste in chanting. Is everything okay? He said, yes, Mahaprabhu, everything is okay. Yes. So then he goes on and he says, no, I am not getting the taste in chanting. Let me go out and check what's happening. So Mahaprabhu goes out and sees what happened. And Mahaprabhu says, why you didn't stop me? Your son has died. It's a big thing. Why you didn't stop me? Shiva's Thakur said, Mahaprabhu, don't play tricks on me. You are Krishna. And whatever happens in presence of you is never inauspicious. Mahaprabhu hugs Shiva's Thakur and says that from today I'm Shiva's Thakur's man. Everybody, I'm Shiva's Thakur's man. But Mahaprabhu brings the child back. He's Krishna. He brings the child back, and the child gets up, and then he says that Mahaprabhu, why did you bring me back? I was on my journey to your lotus feet. Why did you bring me back? So when the mother hears the child speak like this, she feels pacified. So Mahaprabhu pacified, liberated the son of Shiva's Thakur, pacified the wife of Shiva's Thakur, and glorified his devotee. So many things he did. But those are very, very high level. And Prahlad Maharaj is another example, renounces both auspicious and inauspicious thing. We are not at that level. Don't copy. We'll fall down. Like Lord Shiva drank poison and kept in his neck. If we take even one drop of it, we will die. We cannot drop, keep it in the neck. But we can just pray to such devotees. One who is equal to friends and enemies, both. Okay, so we have one chocolate you have to share with both equally, friends and enemies. Who is equipoised in honor and dishonor, heat and cold, happiness and distress, fame and infamy, who is always free from contamination. So equipoised in fame and infamy, always free from contamination, always silent and satisfied with anything, does not care for any residence, who is fixed in knowledge and engaged in devotional service is very dear to me. So Lord Shiva has all these qualities, all of them, equal to friends and enemies. He was not envious of Daksha. Daksha insulted Lord Shiva like anything. He was not envious. Equipoised in honor and dishonor, heat and cold, happiness, distress, fame, infamy, free from contaminations, always silent, satisfied with anything, does not care for any residence, fixed in knowledge, engaged in devotional service is very dear to me. So this is Amrish Maharaj. Amrish Maharaj pastime is that Amrish Maharaj was a very, very exalted devotee of Krishna. He was a king. He was the king. But he would use his mind to think of Krishna. He would use his legs to go to Krishna's temple. He would use his ear to hear about Krishna, and his eyes to look at the deity of Krishna. So everything for Krishna. So one day he was keeping Ekadashi, and the next day was Dwadashi. So on the day of Dwadashi, this particular person, Durvasa Muni, comes in his kingdom. Durvasa Muni is very envious of Amrish Maharaj. Why? Because Amrish Maharaj is a famous devotee and a king. So he has all saintly qualities. Devotee of Krishna has all saintly qualities. So he always looks for opportunity to defame um, Amrish Maharaj. So Amrish Maharaj welcomes Durvasa Muni and says that it's Dwadashi, please come and complete your fast and eat with us, honor the prasadam. So he says, yeah, I'm coming. Let me just finish my morning duties and I'll come. So he goes, he's Muni, he can look what's happening far away. So he's waiting and he can see what's happening. And Amrish Maharaj is seeing that the time to complete Ekadashi is going away. Ekadashi fast has to be completed within certain time range next morning. If it is not, then we have to keep Ekadashi whole day once again on Dwadashi. So he consults his priest in the temple that what should I do? I have a guest. I cannot eat before the guest. So what should I do? How do I complete my fast? So the priest suggests him that Maharaj, you have not taken even one drop of water on Ekadashi. Water is not grain. So drink water. Take some water and your Ekadashi will be taken, and then your welcome gesture to your guest will also not be disrupted. So Maharaj takes one drop of water and Durvasa Muni says, now I got a chance to defame Amrish Maharaj. So he runs back angry that you are such a big king and you pose yourself as such a big devotee. Don't you know the basic things that you are supposed to welcome the guest first? So Amrish Maharaj is just like thinking of Krishna immediately. So this particular person, he takes out a hair from his head and makes a big demon out of it, this one, to kill Amrish Maharaj, to punish him for that particular punishment. It's coming from his envy. He is envious, but he's doing it. Durvasa Muni is pure devotee of Krishna. He could have revoked the curse. He could have revoked, but he accepts it as a mercy of Krishna. Immediately, Krishna sends his Sudarshan Chakra. Behead this Durvasa. He has insulted my devotee. Kanteya pratijanihi name bhaktya pranashyati. Krishna has promised. He has promised, right? Declare it boldly that my devotee will never perish. So he sends this chakra, Sudarshan Chakra, go and chop off the head. Now Durvasa Muni is in trouble. Oh, this Sudarshan Chakra is following me. He is such a great Muni. He goes to Brahma. He walks to Brahma. Brahma, save me, Sudarshan Chakra. Brahma says, I can't do anything. Krishna has released this Sudarshan Chakra. I'm sorry. You have to go to Vishnu. He goes to Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva says the same thing. I can't do anything. And he goes to Vishnu. He's so powerful. He goes to Vishnu. Please retrieve your Sudarshan Chakra. Lord Vishnu says, I can't do anything. You have insulted a Vaishnava. You have done a Vaishnava aparad. If my devotee forgives you, then I will retrieve. Otherwise, it's your time. Then Durvasa Muni understands the power of a pure Vaishnava. And then he comes, and then he just like falls flat in front of Amrish Maharaj, and devotee doesn't take offense, says that's fine. So the Sudarshan Chakra is retrieved. So Vaishnava Aparad, one has to be very careful. Okay, don't offend a Vaishnava. Otherwise, Sudarshan Chakra. He who follows this imperishable path of devotional service, imperishable. Devotional service is the only path which is imperishable, does not get old, does not become tasteless. I was speaking to Sita Mataji yesterday. So tasty. Devotional service is so tasty. We were discussing that we speak about the same chapter so many times. I am doing it at least regularly since June. So I don't know how many months have passed, 7, 8 months. Every month, sometimes twice a month, we were doing it in the beginning when we started this course. But it doesn't become old. It's imperishable. It always gives new taste. I don't know about the listener, but I, as a speaker, I feel like, whoa, this is another realization. So, who follows this imperishable path of devotional service, who completely engages himself with faith, making me the supreme goal, is very, very dear to me. Very, very dear. Now he's saying superlative, very, very dear to me. So, devotional service, one who takes to the path of devotional service becomes very, very dear to Krishna. This is Bilva Mangal Thakur. Bilva Mangal Thakur appears in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Also, Bilva Mangal Thakur was first called as Bilva Mangal, not Thakur. So, Bilva Mangal, he had risen to the Bhava Bhakti stage of bhakti in his previous life. But somehow he fell down. So, he had to take birth in a very pious and rich family. So, but he was attached to this girlfriend. He had a girlfriend. Okay, so one day his girlfriend thought that Bulamangla is not gonna come today because it's a stormy night. There is hurricane, there's tsunami, and it's hard to come. So he's not gonna come. So she closed the door and she turned off the lamp and went to rest. But after some time, there was a knock on the door, and there you go, Bilvamangala outside, all drenched, all hither and thither. So she asked Bilvamangala, how did you come here in the middle of a stormy night? You see, where we are, there's so many storms. So we lock ourselves in the house. We're not going. But he's out there coming. So then he decides the whole thing, that how he quickly performed the Shraddha ceremony of his father, how he, swam in the river which was flooding, and how he had to catch hold of a dead body to cross the river, how he was running through the jungle, the trees were falling. So he was racing against the falling trees. So the tree is not going to fall on my head. I'm going to run. That was like alone, all alone. How he climbed the wall of her house using the tail of a snake, how he came. So the girlfriend was like, oh, so much effort to see me. If you had made even a little bit effort to see Krishna, your life would have been different. So when he heard this from the mouth of his friend, his consciousness immediately changed. Now there's a science behind that too. Okay, he immediately changed. Why? Because he had accepted a spiritual master in the past life, and because he had not completed the stage of devotional service. So the spiritual master was speaking through the friend. Okay, so it was not his girlfriend's talk, it was the spiritual master speaking through the friend. So spiritual master's Vani is very potent. So because he heard it, and it was the wire media was friend, but it was spiritual master's Vani, his consciousness changed. We are preaching chant Hare Krishna, do this, how many of us are becoming pure? Nobody. Good, it became. And immediately he left and realized that what all things he was doing in the life were all a waste. So he adopts the dress of a devotee, a sannyasi, and then he's walking to Vrindavan. So there is this thing, right, that whenever we turn off the fan, let's say there's a ceiling fan and we turn off the fan, does the fan turn off immediately, or it takes some time and there's some momentum? It takes some time, right? So similarly, when he was walking to Vrindavan, he again sees a beautiful girl, and he again starts following her. And that girl was married. Chaitanya Charitamrita describes this. And so she hurriedly goes and goes inside her house. So outside the house, the husband is sitting. So now Bilva Mangal is standing outside the house. And the husband comes and asks that, Babaji, what do you want? Can I help you? So it was a saintly man. He said, yes, I want to talk to that beautiful girl. So the husband goes and tells the wife that this person is our guest. He wants to talk to you, so you must come out. So she came out. Now Bilvamangal calls her Mataji. He says Mataji or mother. Do you have a hairpin? You know, some ladies put pins in their hair. Yeah, I have. So she gives him the hairpin, and he takes the hairpin and he pokes his eyes, because he says that I was on my way to Krishna and I again got deviated, and it is a result of these eyes. Don't do that. Don't do that. We are not so pure, but he did it, and he became blind because he wanted undeviated attention to Krishna. And he was so exalted. And then he rose to Prem Bhakti platform that he was composing so nice prayers to Krishna that Krishna himself was coming every day and listening to Bilva Mangal Thakur. So that is a result of devotional service to Krishna. All these attractions to dead matter become focused on attraction to what's really living. Okay, so this was the last verse, a small chapter, very nice chapter, very tasty chapter. Please go and read it again. Bhakti over impersonalism. Arjuna asked Krishna, what is best? The worship or attachment to your personal form or attachment to your impersonal form? Krishna answers, between 1 and 7, this thing is going on. Mai aveshya mano ye mam. That I am, whoever is worshipping me in my personal form is better. Then Krishna describes the progressive stages of devotion. Remember, we studied that Ananya Bhakti is the pure devotional service, which is coming from love for Krishna. If someone can't do that, then do Sadhana Bhakti. If someone can't do that, then do Nishkam Karma Yoga. If someone can't do that, then do Sakam Karma. Someone can't do that, then do Jnana Yoga, Jnana, cultivate knowledge. But better than knowledge is meditation, and better than meditation is renunciation of fruits of action. So Krishna adjusts to have everyone. He does not want to leave anyone. We set barriers. Qualities that endear Krishna, and endear one to Krishna, we described in detail. Sama Shatru cha Mitre cha. Similar, same vision for enemy and same vision for friend. All right. Now I have an appeal to make on behalf of ISKCON Mangalore, our temple. So first so Radha Govinda are not in a temple. They are in a rented house for many years, but we want to make a temple for their pleasure. I'm trying to see where is that video. So now Manish Prabhu asked me to put this appeal out, and I will do it. Give me a second. Where did it go? I'm going to show you the video and then show you the appeal. That if we all can contribute to some extent in any form, in form of intelligence or in form of your Lakshmi. Let's see this. This is Mangalore. So this is the land that we are trying to The land looks very beautiful, and it's close to the major roads and the train station, so it will be accessible. I so wish I'm there. Anyway, I'm gonna present this. So if someone can do something, so you see the temple is going to come up. That's because it's already decided, it's sanctioned. But if we do something, then we become nimitta matram bhavya savasachin, instrument in the hands of the god. It's not that I contribute, you contribute, then only temple will come up. In a way, Krishna becomes dependent on, you say in Archa Vigraha, for example, Krishna does become dependent on the devotee. Can you please dress me? I cannot dress myself. But it's a chance given to us that how can we serve Krishna? So this is the land that we are trying to get. This particular the design, it's on a height and it's very pretty. So we can make the vision is that make a temple for the deities, invite everyone, and also make it as an educational place where someone will come and we can teach them the shastras like we do right now. And then we teach them the shastras, and then we also teach them the activity, just not talking or knowledge. So for that we need place, right? So there are some recommended services. Anyone can donate any much, but these are the recommended services. This is called Mahamukhya Dharmadhikari Seva, where somebody can give sponsor 4 cents of land, which is 1,742.4 square feet. They get benefit. They will be eligible to take part. They will be invited to take part in the Pratisthapana Yagya, and then they will get the ISKCON free life membership, which I will talk about in a minute. And their name will go in the temple of the Lord, that this particular person did this. The recommended amount is 10,80,000 rupees, which can be paid in installments over 3 years. If someone can't do that, then Mukhya Dharmadhikari Seva, 2 cents of land, half of it, where same benefits. The person will be invited with family to take part in Pratisthapana Yagya. The name will be engraved in the spiritual wall of fame. And then VIP passes for all important function and free ISKCON life membership. The recommended amount is 5,40,000 rupees, which can be paid in 3 years. Then if someone can't do that, then Dharmadhikari Seva, where we can sponsor 1 cent of land. The same benefits when we invited to Pariprasthena Yagya, or the name will be engraved. VIP passes and ISKCON life membership for free. So amount is 2,70,000, which can be paid in installments over 3 years. This is called Mandir Nirman Seva. I'm sorry, Dharmadhikari. And Dharmakarta Seva. Dharmakarta Seva we can do by a name where you give the money and tell temple that you can use it for something that you want, not necessarily for the land only, to buy other materials for the construction. For example, your name will be on the Fall of Fame for devotees to see for generations to come, and then participation in the Pratisthapana Yagya, VIP passes for all important functions, ISKCON free membership, and recommended amount is 1,08,000 rupees, and it can be paid in installments without interest for 3 years. But if someone can't do that, then we can sponsor a square foot of construction for our new upcoming beloved Shri Radha Govinda temple. Every square foot or meter brings us another step closer to Krishna. That's a statement from Srimad Bhagavatam, actually. Anyway, so 1 square foot is recommended amount is 5,000 rupees, Indian rupees. 2 square foot, 10,000, 5 square foot, 5,000, 10 square foot, 50,000. And we will be sharing the links out. One can use the link, this link to pay if somebody is in India. If somebody is out of India, then I would recommend, I will tell you what to do, but I would recommend that you email to me directly and I will take care of you and we will do it together. If you are out of India, if you are in India, then the links will work. If you're out of India, the links will not work. If someone can't do that also, then what? Sponsor a brick, one brick for Radha Govinda. One brick is like 1,500, two bricks 3,000, five bricks 7,500, 10 bricks 15,000. And if someone is in India, then they can use this link to donate directly. Not in India, then you reach out to me. These links will be shared. That please send an email to namadas@gmail.com whenever you are making any donation, or you can send an email to me and I will forward it to Prabhu as well, if that is more convenient. But you can directly email Prabhu as well and write in the subject donation. Bank details for devotees who are willing to donate more than Indian 25,000 rupees, then this will be your bank detail to Canara Bank. We will share it. If somebody is donating less than 25,000, then you can use direct links to pay, or you can pay through bank also, but you can directly pay as well. These links will not accept anything over 25,000. That's why you have to go through the bank for more than 25. Now, the donations from devotees who are outside India is tricky. Depends on whether a person has a Indian passport or a Indian passport with Indian domestic account or not. So it's different cases. Okay, so in that case, just reach out to me directly. I will work with you on your particular case and we'll do it. And I've done it with so many devotees for the last few days. I have received emails and we have worked it out from all over the world actually. So if somebody is not an Indian citizen and they don't have Indian passport, then it has to go through FCRA. That's the FCI. That's the legal way, because you need to get a receipt of what you're doing, and that's Prabhupada's standard. Okay, another not Indian and does not have OCI or OCI card or have OCI card but does not have NRE or NRO account. What are these things? We know them, so just reach out to you about your individual case. Okay, so we'll be sharing all these links, all the FCRA bank account details. And then a little bit about life membership. If somebody wants to become a life member of ISKCON, this is universally accepted. Life membership card from Radha Govinda Temple will be accepted in every single ISKCON temple all over the globe. It's not that you have to take membership from this temple or that temple. Okay, the life membership, I am a life member, so it's very amazing. So what happens is that in the national life membership program of ISKCON Shri Shri Radha Govinda, the benefits are that when one becomes a life member, then you will be entitled to receive the following benefits. International Life Patron Identity Card with patron's photo, valid for members and all his dependents. So all your family. If somebody has married children, let's say they're married off, then that situation is different. But let's say I get it. So it is valid for my unmarried children and my other members of the family who are dependent, like elders of the family. They can also use the benefit of the card. This card will be honored at all ISKCON centers around the world. Prabhupada established this. Everyone knows about it. Accommodation and special reduced rates for life members at all ISKCON centers around the world whenever available. So you for 3 days per year. They actually don't charge for anything. They only charge for service. I have stayed in America with this card. And they really didn't. 3 days or 3 days I stayed. They charged me, I think, $10. And it was a big resort in West Virginia. It's a big thing. Okay, so for just cleaning. All ISKCON centers are around the world. So you can go to Paris with it, you can go to New York with it, you can go anywhere, wherever there is a guest house, you can stay in that ISKCON center. But advanced reservation is necessary, okay? They don't necessarily reserve a room for a card holder. And we can visit all the centers of ISKCON on this website. So you'll have benefit to go and associate with devotees. And we get all the sets of books of Srila Prabhupada, Bhagavatam set. And it is available in all languages, not necessarily English. We can only ship it in India though right now. And then special puja on behalf of a life patron on their birthday. And if you're in India, then your donation is tax exempt. You get the tax exempt letter and you can file it and reclaim your donation in your taxes. By the way, all the donations are tax exempt, whatever I showed you, whatever amount. Amount payable is 35,555, but can be paid in installments over 1 year. Monthly, if someone can't do that, that becomes very hard. Then what? Then you can do monthly seva for Radha Govinda. Nitya Rajbhog seva for a day for one meal. Rajbhog is the afternoon meal, which is huge. 500 rupees. Or Sarva Seva, all the services for the day for the DVs, one day, 1000 rupees. Nitya Dhup Seva for 1 month, the Dhupa Seva, rupees 2000. Nitya Shira Nevedya Seva, so DDs eat sweets. Let me see. Mangalarti time when we wake them up, we offer them with this, we offer them sweets and nuts and sometimes hot milk. So we wake them up with that. And then when we put them to bed, we offer them milk and sweet. Yes, so 2 times. We give sweet with every meal also, but 2 times necessary, just sweet and milk. Nitya Pushpa Alankar Seva, flowers for whole month, 10,000 rupees. Okay, so again, Rajbhog, if someone can't do that, then they can do this. Rajbhog or Service Seva. We will share this document today in your WhatsApp groups. You can go over it. I'm just going over this. And these are the donation links. These are live links for people who have Indian account and Indian card. Okay, so this is my appeal that we can become an instrument in the hand of Krishna. Okay, so these are the summary. Mahamukhya Dharmadhikari Seva is 10,80,000 recommended. Mukhya Dharmadhikari is 5,40,000. This is for temple, the new temple that we want to make. Dharmadhikari is 2,70,000 depending on how much land one wants to give for the temple. Dharmakarta is for any service, not necessarily land, but any service, 1,08,000. Life membership is 35,555. Or 1 square foot, 5,000. Brick is 1,500, 1 brick. Or you can do the monthly sevas. Okay, so it's not that it's not going to happen. It will happen, but if we do it, then we become secure. Anyway, okay, so we can thank you so much for listening. We can take up some questions. Suba Mataji and Sita Mataji are ready.
Yes, Mataji.
Okay, so 10 minutes, I'll bring you both back. Okay, so join. Whoever is staying in, oh, no quiz. Oh, I forgot about the quiz. I have quiz. Okay, Mataji, Chitra Mataji, please remind me at the end. I have quiz. I forgot. Thank you so much. So at the end, remind me to do the quiz. Yes, Rupal, Mittal Mataji, you can unmute.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare
Mataji,
Krishna.
now through these verses, we learned how to become a pure devotee. But my question is that how does one become Krishna then? Is it the ultimate devotion through that? Is the perfection of devotion that becomes Krishna, or what is it? Like we learned out of the Rudras, Shiva is the Krishna. So
Krishna, no, representative of Krishna. Mataji, Krishna is Krishna. Krishna is Ekala Ishwar Krishna Arahu Bhrita. Okay, we don't become Krishna. We become devotee of Krishna. Okay, please, I'm sorry if I confused you. We don't become. Krishna is Krishna. We just come to realize our situation that what is my relationship? What is my sambandha with Krishna?
then how did Krishna become Krishna then?
That we have to understand as it is, because we are living in a platform, or we are living a life where we see that there is a cause for everything, right? But Krishna's situation has to be understood from a pure devotee, not from the mind. That Brahma says, Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha. Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. You are the cause of everything, but you have no cause. So Krishna has no cause. But we cannot understand because we are very dependent on our own mental speculation or our own experience. But that's not how the spiritual knowledge works.
Okay, thank you, Mataji.
Okay. And we never become Krishna. We can never. That's a mental concoction that will throw us down from our platform of devotional service, and we will get nowhere. We will get lost. You see, you have children, Mataji, if I may ask.
Yes, yes, Mataji, I've got 2 kids.
So, your children, even if you love them so much, do they ever become you?
No, never. Yeah, they can't
Or
actually because I have the individual identity when they do so.
similarly, the soul also has an individual identity. Um, and we cannot become Krishna. We can have a relationship with Krishna.
Yeah, okay. Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Ravinder Damamkar Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Mataji, could you please let me know the difference between impersonal and personal, and similarly Sagun Bhakti, Nirgun Bhakti, and on one hand manifestation and unmanifestation, and conceivable, unconceivable. These are certain terms which are really puzzling me. Could you please?
Yeah, I can tell you, but they're more or less same meaning. So Krishna, some people are attached to the idea. It's an idea, it's not a fact. Idea that God has no form. Have you heard of it?
Okay.
Some people are attached to the idea that God has no form. So what if you ask them what is God? Oh, God is an energy. You know, as you like energy, like you look at the sky, sorry, sky has no form, like that God has no form. They say that. It's an idea. There's no base to it. Um, so that is impersonalism. Impersonalism means that there is no personality.
Okay.
Okay, and but that's
Just imagination. Just a kind of feeling.
it's yeah, you can say that, just energy. I will show you the Goloka chart. It becomes easier with that thing. They just want to merge in Brahman effulgence, just want to merge in the sky. Okay, but higher than that is a Bhagwan feature or personal form of Krishna. That Krishna is a person, like you are a person, right?
Okay.
When you have your camera on, I can see that, okay, you have 2 eyes, you wear glasses, right? You have you have one nose or 2 ears, like that. There's a person like that.
Okay.
Krishna is also a person. And that person form, or the form of Krishna, is described in Brahma Samhita and in Srimad Bhagavatam. Or Krishna himself describes in Bhagavad Gita too. Meditate on
So
me like
is it otherwise known as Saguna Bhakti?
Saguna Bhakti is, yes, you can say that. Saguna means the one with his form. Yes, you can say that.
Saguna Bhakti. And whereas impersonal means Nirguna Bhakti?
Yes, in that particular sense, you can say that Nirguna. There are 2 meanings to these words. That's why I'm hesitating to answer. But you can say that Archa, Saguna and Nirguna, you can take it as a meaning. Yes. That Nirguna means no form, no energy. I'm just energy and no form. And Saguna is someone who's worshipping Krishna in his form, in the deity form.
How about the relation between idol worship and this personal worship? Is 2 are similar?
Yes, so we don't use the word idol.
Yeah, of course. We shouldn't use, but it can be
Archa.
assumed.
Archa Vigraha. We use the word Archa.
Acha.
Okay, so Archa Vigraha represents the personal form of Krishna, correct? If it is established by a bona fide acharya in a bona fide paramparic way, yes. Okay, so when you go to temple, and you go to ISKCON temple, Radha Govinda, right? I'll show you Radha Govinda's photo. Okay, I'm not sharing my screen. So we look at Radha Govinda. This is Radha Govinda, let's say. Not let's say, but sorry. So Radha Govinda. So here we have a form of Krishna. Krishna has a flute. Krishna stands in a particular fashion, and Krishna has a helmet.
Okay.
Krishna has eyes. Radharani has eyes. She's looking so pretty. She's wearing jewels. So this is Archa Vigraha.
Yeah.
We're worshipping Krishna according to
Okay.
the bona fide. When we decorate the
Okay.
deity, when we put the alankar, when we put the jewels and clothes on deity, there is a regulation. It has to go. Everything we do. That is why Brahminical initiation is not for everyone. Everything we do is
Okay.
under very good regulation. So this is Archa Vigraha.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Then this finish. What about this manifested and
Same.
unmanifested?
Oh, manifested and manifested is the universal form. Sorry. Manifested and unmanifested is the word used for universal form, because universal form of Krishna, Vishwarupa form of Krishna,
Ah,
not really a form. It's a conception that there is a form. It appears when this material world appears. You see, the world that we are living in has a time, right? It has a time that that it is going to stay for this amount of time to this amount of time, and after this, it is going to be done, unwinded.
okay.
It will be wound up, right? So
Okay.
universal form of Krishna is manifested when this cosmic form is there. As long as the sun and moon are there, we can say, okay, they represent eyes of Krishna. As long as we can see the mountains on this planet, okay, maybe they are the bone of Krishna. They represent bones of Krishna. So, but one day sun and moon will go, and the mountains will also go. So that form will be wound up. So there will be no Vishwarupa at that time. That means
is-
manifested and unmanifested.
The Vishwarupa is manifested.
Yes, the cosmic. Yes, it is manifested when the material world is made.
Okay. So the normal form is called unmanifested.
I think he's getting confused. Prabhu, just wait. Sita Mataji explains it very well. But in other words, don't get confused.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, don't get, just think about it, what I'm saying. That
Right.
universal form of Krishna is a material form, it's not spiritual.
Okay.
Why? Because universal form of Krishna is dependent on the material creation. And I would refer you to second canto Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 4 and 5. You go and read those chapters.
Okay.
Universal form is described in more detail in those chapters. Okay. But think about it and then come back tomorrow. Ask me again.
Okay. Okay. Well, could you please once again give a brief regarding the conceivable and unconceivable?
That is a potency of Krishna. Okay, you're talking three, four different things. So of course, you'll get confused, but I'm very
Yeah.
happy you're getting it. So that is a potency of Krishna. Conceivable potency and inconceivable. Inconceivable potency is like we discussed that Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva. Krishna is in my heart, but at the same time, Krishna is in Goloka Vrindavan. How can we conceive it? How can we
Yeah.
understand this?
Okay.
We cannot. That's why it is called inconceivable.
Okay. So.
Conceivable is something which we can see with our eyes, which you can see and which you can experience, which is
Yeah,
in the
we can easily, that we can have an idea easily. Okay.
correct. And that conceivable potency is Archa Vigraha. You can conceive, you can look at
Yes.
Krishna.
Yes. Yes.
Inconceivable is this, and this potency of Krishna. Krishna is in my heart as Paramatma, and Krishna is also in Goloka Vrindavan, and Krishna is also everywhere. How is that possible?
So almost it is a little bit related to personal.
What
Can
is
we-
related
can you-
to personal?
Can it be related to personal? Conceivable, personal.
You can take it like that. For example, you can take it like
Okay.
that.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Krishna,
Hare
nice
Krishna.
studying.
Thank you. Dhanyavad. Bahut bahut dhanyavad.
Hare Krishna. Pooja Sharma Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Krishna.
So this today's chapter is so beautiful, wherein Krishna is telling us how a devotee should be. But looking at the list, when I go through it, all things seem very difficult. Like just in plain English, not getting angry, uh, not equipoised in both happiness and all that stuff. So in spite of doing my chanting and all that stuff, but these things keep on erupting, right? 1-2 days I might not be angry, third day I'll be angry. So in this lifetime, is it possible to reach Krishna having these qualities and only chanting and being a good person?
It's a nice question. What is my success rate? What is the chance that I will succeed? You see, there's a song. Pure Vaishnava Thakur Tomar Kukur. Oh Vaishnava Thakur or Vaishnava, I am your dog. I depend on you. Krishna Tomar. Krishna is your property. You can give me Krishna. You see, going to Krishna is dependent on the acharya, on the spiritual master. We can do anything. I can go on chanting for millions of years, and Krishna may still not agree to my service. But if I chant through a bona fide parampara, then the parampara takes me. For example, let's say that there's a family and the father is very strict, very strict. A mother is very loving. So if children have to get something done from the father, then they automatically go to the mother and say that mother, go to the father and tell him to do this, right?
Right. Yeah.
The same way when we chant Hare Krishna, we say Hare first. There's Radharani. Oh Radharani, can you please take my appeal to Krishna? She takes. So really our success in Krishna consciousness or the fruit of our activity, result of our activity depends on the acharyas. It depends on acharyas. Prabhupada. Okay, it depends on what he wants to do with us. What is my adhikar? You again have to understand what is your adhikar. What can you do? Is that you can just follow sincerely with all the sincerity in my heart, with a great hope that it will be done. And this is called as Asha Bandha. It is very intricately described in 18th chapter of Nectar of Devotion, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. This quality of a devotee. A devotee is very, very hopeful, extremely hopeful that this will happen. And we go on. Okay.
Right.